Hello, I'm Alan, and welcome to today's edition of Alan's Cycling Adventures. I have about 3 months to go before my big journey, and my training plan today calls for an 80-mile ride, so that is the plan. The route will look pretty familiar because I do like those bike paths up in Westchester County, New York, and so that's what I'm going to do today. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas for future editions of Alan's Cycling Adventures, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Well, without further ado, let's ride. The first thing I want to mention on this video is something I'm really excited about. I have launched my blog. For those of you who want to follow along and would prefer to just read about my cross-country journey rather than watching these long sped-up videos, you can go to alancoasttocoast.blogspot.com. I've already put up my first entry. Leading up to the cross-country journey, I'm just going to do one entry per month. But once I fly out to California, I'm going to do a daily entry. So head on over and enjoy the blog. If you prefer, I'm going to include a link in the description of this video. With that said, you probably noticed that the weather is much nicer in this video than it was on long ride number 4. This one was definitely much more fun. As a result of the fact that I wasn't getting soaked. It was cold, but it was dry, and that was a major improvement. In terms of next week, as you can see, it was not quite dark, not quite light when I started out on this ride. Next week, I'm going to be starting even earlier, because next Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday, and I do want to be back and showered and changed and rested up before going out to watch the game. So next week's ride is going to start in darkness, or at least that's the plan currently. In terms of this ride, I took this ride on Sunday, February 4th, 2024. The weather was clear, and it was 27 degrees Fahrenheit with a feels-like temperature of 25 degrees Fahrenheit. The humidity was 75%, and the wind was only 1.8 miles per hour from the north. At least that was what it was at the start. The total length of this ride was 80.21 miles, and I did it at an average moving speed of 14.9 miles per hour. My maximum speed was 34.2 miles per hour, and my total moving time was 5 hours, 23 minutes, 24 seconds, with an elapsed time of 6 hours, 16 minutes, 12 seconds. My average heart rate was 125, and my max heart rate was 146. And according to Garmin Connect and Strava, I burned 1,927 calories. My average cadence was 69 RPM. According to Garmin, my max cadence was 241 RPM, but I've got to admit, I somehow doubt that. Probably closer to 100 something, but I guess my cadence sensor glitched out at some point. Anyway, total elevation gain for this ride was 2,841 feet. And this ride, the route may look familiar to you. It was basically the same route as long ride number 4. And I think it was long ride number 2, or it might have been 3. I'm not sure. But I like this route. I like this route a lot. And the reason I like this route is because most of it, or probably about half of it, is on bike paths and protected bike lanes up in New York, I think mostly in Westchester County. Although I could probably stand to use some greater elevation. And my plan going forward is that I'm working my way up to 100 miles. I'm going to keep this route and just extend it to get to 100 miles. But then when I ratchet back and start building up again, I'm going to do so with more elevation and make it a bit more challenging now that I've got the distance in my legs. In terms of where this ride was, it was in New Jersey and New York. I started off in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and rode up into Paramus, Ridgewood, Hohokus, then into the township of Washington, Westwood, Old Tappan, and then across the border into Tappan, New York, then through Sparkill, Piermont, Grandview on Hudson, South Nyack, across the Tappan Zee Bridge into Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, Pocantico Hills, Hawthorne, Pleasantville, Briarcliff Manor, Millwood, Kitchewan, which was my turnaround point in the rain last week. But this time I continued north through the Kitchewan Preserve and across the New Croton Reservoir into Turkey Mountain Park, which was where I turned around, came back across the New Croton Reservoir and through the Kitchewan Preserve and through Kitchewan, Millwood, Briarcliff Manor, Pleasantville, Hawthorne, Pocantico Hills, Sleepy Hollow, Tarrytown, and then back across the Tappan Zee Bridge and through South Nyack, Grandview on Hudson, Piermont, Sparkill, Tappan, and then across into New Jersey, into North Vale, New Jersey, and then down through Norwood, Harrington Park, Westwood, Township of Washington, Hohokus, Ridgewood, Paramus, and back into Fair Lawn. An interesting observation I made while riding through Grandview on Hudson was that the road that I was on, which was one lane each direction, had signage indicating that it was Bicycle Route 9. I did look on the map and I noticed that it pretty much parallels Route 9W. So I guess it's there to provide bicyclists an opportunity to go north-south. In any event, it's a really pretty road. It's right along the Hudson River. And there was a spot that I had passed a couple of times on these last few routes that I thought was a bike shop. I didn't really look closely, but I thought it was a bike shop that rents bikes. For some reason, this time as I went past, the reason I thought that is because I always see a lot, or I shouldn't say always, because I didn't see a lot last week in the rain. But the other times that I went past, I've seen a lot of cyclists going to and leaving this building. And so this time around, I took a glance as I was heading south, and I discovered it's actually a coffee shop, but it's a bicycle-themed coffee shop. So, well, maybe not next week, because next week is Super Bowl Sunday, but maybe in a couple of weeks, I'll actually stop in and, I don't know, maybe not a cup of coffee, but I'll get something there, just to say that I stopped in and to get a better look at it. In any event, it did look like an interesting place. Let's see, what other interesting observations can I make? I guess one interesting observation was that going across the Tappan Zee Bridge at the entry and exit points from the bridge, The bicycle path is a shared bicycle path / pedestrian walkway, and one half of it is marked for bicycles and one half of it is marked for pedestrians and joggers. But at the entry points, there are call boxes that are labeled to use these call boxes to reach the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. In contrast, the bridge that went over the New Croton Reservoir had signage as you go across, something along the lines of, warning, jumping from this bridge is prohibited by law. And I thought that's a really odd, different approach. You know, at the Tappan Zee Bridge, they're like, if you're thinking of jumping, reach out for help. Here's how you can get some help. We provided you an opportunity to get help. Whereas at the bridge over the New Croton Reservoir, they're like, yeah, if you jump off, we're going to scoop you up and we're going to prosecute your corpse. I don't know. I thought it was a strange approach. Anyway, so as I said, I do enjoy this route. I was looking at the map just a few minutes ago, and I noticed that this particular bike path goes quite far north. It looks like it goes another 20 miles north before it terminates. And that's kind of cool because I'm ultimately working my way up to 100 miles. I'm at roughly 80 miles. So I really only need another 10 miles of this bike path in order to turn this into a century. So for my first century leading up to the trip, I think that's what I'm going to choose for a route. And for the second century, I'll choose something with a little more terrain, a little more elevation, something a little bit more challenging. Anyway, we'll see how it works out. I think it'll work out well. All right, there's the 80-mile ride. I have to admit, today's ride was a lot more fun than last week's ride in the rain. And so I hope you liked the video. And until next time, stay safe out there.